All right, Shabbat Shalom. Good to have you here. I know we have a few visitors. I'm Rabbi Sam Spector. Nice to have you here for our Shabbat service. And I'm really excited because, as you know, for about the past month or so, I've been kind of doing this whole Shabbat thing solo and don't have the greatest singing voice, so I'll need you to join in with me. Yeah? Are you saying he's good at singing or not good at singing? I need you to sing very loudly then. So that's the thing. There's some rabbis out there. We always have to look for our blessings in everything, because I know some rabbis out there who have the most remarkable singing voices, so good that they could easily be a cantor. And in fact, our incoming cantor told me that his previous rabbis was like that, and so they sometimes butt heads because the rabbi always wanted to be the cantor. And also sometimes when the rabbi was singing, people just wanted to listen to the rabbi, so they didn't participate with him. And that's why God gave me this fantastic, terrible singing voice, because I encourage some participation, and also cantors and I get along great. And so he'll be joining us next week, and I can't wait for that for our Shabbat in the Garden. But tonight I'm going to need a little bit of your help. And we are going to start off by seeing how good it is for all of us to be together with Hine Matov. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet ahim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov, hine matov, yalalai, yalalai, yalalai. Hine matov, hine matov, yalalai, yalalai. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. How good it is that we are all together on this beautiful, I guess today or yesterday was the first day of summer, and enjoying these long evenings. And so there's this lesson in Judaism that when we come to the synagogue and then we go home afterwards, that there's supposed to be this little angel that is on our shoulder helping us as we go into Shabbat, bring those good vibes that we get from our community and help bring peace into our Shabbat and into our world. We're going to turn to page 142 for the singing of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barhuni leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitchem leShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. we are going to turn a couple pages back to page 138. And I am immensely excited for this week. It's summer after all. And so guess what I get to do this week? I have the privilege of, over the next 7 days, starting Sunday, I guess, officiating not one, not two, not three, but 4 weddings in this 1 week. It is fantastic. That's the best part, after all, of being a rabbi, is getting to be a part of those wonderful stories and seeing people come together with love. But what we learn in our tradition, too, is that while every single day of the week got coupled up, Sunday with Monday, Tuesday with Wednesday, Thursday with Friday, Shabbat was all alone. And this made Shabbat very sad. And God said, don't worry, I am going to couple up with you. And so we get to have this special connection, this special moment of love, of Shabbat and God coming together, and that we all get to be witnesses and experience that love. And it feels as though we are at a wedding when the sun is setting and Shabbat is coming out. And so we turn to page 138, and we are going to sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9 as we greet the Sabbath bride, welcoming in Shabbat. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha Dodi, lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi anu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shemo tiferet v'litila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lihikrat Shabbat lehu v'nelcha, ki hi mekor habracha, meherosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh b'machashavati la. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva ore kumi ori, uri, shir daberi, kavod Adonai alai nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. We rise and face the entrance to greet Shabbat. Boi v'shalom atere bala, gam besimcha u'etzohola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, penei Shabbat nekabela. You may be seated. And at this time, we are going to help bring some light into our Shabbat with the lighting of the candles. And You know what? Paul, I am so glad that you're here. I love when kids are here. I wish more kids would come to our Shabbat services. Paul, would you come up and help light the Shabbat candles? And you can bring your mom with you, too. I hear you are a pro at this, Paul. Okay. 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 Ready? Okay. You can hold on to my hand, and we'll light.
Good job. You helped.
Okay, Paul, can you help cover our eyes? Ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thanks, Paul. Can I get a high five? Appreciate it. Thanks for helping bring light into our world this Shabbat. We are going to turn now to page 144 for the Hatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei rabba be'alma divrach yirtevim lich malchute b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayedecho be'Yisrael Bahagala Uvismahan kahari vimeru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivarach le'alam omei omaya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitruman v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekodesha brechu le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata tushbehata v'nehemata dahamiram be'alma v'imeru amen. Welcome. I know some folks are coming in. Right up the stairs, there should be a few extra prayer books. If we need more, I can always go get us more. I'm glad to see you all here. Welcome. We are on page 146, and we rise in body or spirit for the Baruch Hu. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Baruch Hu et Adonai Hamevorah Baruch Adonai Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed Hamevorach Le'olam Va'ed. You may be seated. We're going to turn now to page 149. So welcome in the evening. Like I said, it is the beginning of summer, and that's one of the things I love about living in Utah is, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and in Seattle we had two seasons, the rainy season in July 26th, and then I lived in Los Angeles, where again there were only a couple seasons, hot and really hot, and here in Utah, I was a little unsure about moving here because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with 4 different seasons. But one of the things that anybody who lives here knows is that each one of those seasons brings something beautiful, brings something of change. That right as we're starting to get a little tired of the snow, or a little tired of the rain, or a little tired of the constant heat, then the season changes. And that change brings with it such a wonderful blessing. So we're going to read together at the bottom of 149 as we welcome in this new season and this change. And also this Shabbat, we welcome in Shabbat in the evening. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. And we are going to turn now the page 150 for Ava Olam, a reminder that God always loves each and every one of us. Hey, Ian and Lindsay, sorry, we might be out of prayer books up there, but there's some more in the hall. Feel free to grab some and come on. And good to see you all. Shabbat Shalom, page 150. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael. Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta. Alken Adonai Eloheinu b'shofenu, ukumenu nasiach behukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem hayenu, ve'orech yameinu. Uvahem nege yomam v'layla, nege yomam v'layla, ve'ahavcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Ohev amo Yisrael, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha, v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayam al levavecha, v'shinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha, uletecha avaderech, ushochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot einenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha leman tizkeruhu, vasitem et kol mitzvotai, vihitem kedoshim leloheichem. Ahani Adonai Eloheichem, asher hotzeiti ethem meretz Mitzrayim, liot lahem le'elohim. Ani Adonai Eloheichem, Adonai Eloheichem. Amen. Well, one of the things that I think propelled us as a collective to cross the sea of reeds and leave Egypt when people were saying, I don't know if I should or not, there was one motivating feeling that maybe dominated over all the rest. And that was love, thinking about the people they loved most. I'm a father now to a few wonderful young girls, and for me, I think when you realize that you have the potential to give those you love a better future, you will do anything to ensure that. And so, as we sing the Michamocha, our song of redemption, I hope that we can think about maybe what fears we have, what challenges lie ahead of us, but also who would benefit most as a result of us laying our love outweigh our fear so that we can create better tomorrows than our todays for the ones we care most about. Page 158. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nehedar b'kodesh, nora tehila osefele, nora tehila osefele. Malchutecha ra'uvanecha, bohokei ayam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Page 160, Hashkivenu. We're going to do the first couple verses and then jump to the indentation. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Ushmor tzeiteinu uvoheinu lechaim u'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu lishalom v'hamidenu shomreinu lechaim. Page 162 at the top, we learned that more than the Jewish people have kept Shabbat, it's actually Shabbat that's kept the Jewish people and brings us all together tonight. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat lidorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti leolam, oti leolam. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim v'et ha'aretz v'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat ledorotam berit olam. Uvayom hashvi'i Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית olam. We rise in body or in spirit on page 164 for the Amidah. Anananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tiftach. Ananananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilateha. Ananananana Adonai. Ananananana Sfatai Tiftach. Ananana Ufi Yagid. Ufi Yagid Tehilateha. Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. Ufi Yagid Tehilateha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Leah, Elohei Rachel, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Haste Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gila Livnei V'Nehem, Lima'an Shemo Be'ahavach, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magin. Baruch atah Adonai, Magin Avraham Vezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol atah, Rav Le'oshia, Morid HaTahal, Mechalkel Hayim Behesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Ravim, Somech Noflim Verofe Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Mihamocha Baal Givurot, Umidam Melach, Melech Memi, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman Talech HaChayot, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechaye HaKol, Atah Kadosh v'Shimcha Kadosh, Ukadoshim b'chol yom Yahallelu Hasela, Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. We continue silently, page 172 through page 180, or you can use this as an opportunity for your own private prayers and thoughts and reflections, and when you're finished, you may be seated. Continue to pray silently on your own if you wish. Ohose shalom bimromav, uyase shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yahase shalom, Yahase shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. We've been offering that prayer for peace since October 7th, hoping that the end outcome of this war will be a greater peace for Israel and for the whole region. And also since October 7th, we have been offering this prayer for the state of Israel. Pray for the peace of Jerusalem. May those who love you prosper. O Heavenly One, protector and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, which marks the dawning of hope for all who seek peace. Shield it beneath the wings of your love. Spread over it the canopy of your peace. Send your light and truth to all who lead and advise, guiding them with your good counsel, and strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Establish peace in the land and fullness of joy for all who dwell there. And let us say, Amen. And this time we are going to turn our thoughts to those who are in need of healing of the mind, body, and spirit, and those who are in a period of recovery as well. This week, we think of these loved ones in our community and their family members. Gitalea bat Mashahana, Harav Yehuda le ben Dina, Myron Yisrael ben Rachel, Daniel Meir ben Chaya Etia, Baruch ben Sarah, Ikafega bat Gital, Gilahaya bat Mordechai le v'Gilalea, Tova Chava bat Chaya Rachel, Leora bat Oded v'Rachel, Yifat Chayut bat Tova, Chaya Liba bat Miriam v'Hershel, Rivka bat Fladel u'Baruch, Micha Yered ben Elchanan Yitzhak ve'Elisa Elka, Sarah Bell, David Dowsett, Angela Eno, Fran Lappin, Tanner Light, Megan Migleby, Simon Jimenez Mendoza, Paul Sherrill, Penny Spector, Adina Stern, Sam Winkler, Michael Winston, and Judy Wolf. And if you have a name to add, when I look in your direction, I'll invite you to share with us. Please. Please go ahead. Go ahead. Carolyn. Yeah. Nancy, I'll say it's good to see you here, and I'm glad that we have you off the Misha Baruch list this week as your foot is healing. Welcome. And if you're watching on our live stream, thanks for watching. I'll invite you to share a name as well. Our prayer for healing can be found in the middle of page 371. Mishebera avotenu mikor habraha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach imotenu mikor habraha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom. So those of you who attend regularly know that this is the point where I give you a teaching. And there are rabbis out there who very often will use this as an opportunity for a discussion and such. And I don't typically do this, but tonight I'd actually love to hear a little feedback and to hear your thoughts on what I'm going to be talking about. Because one of the ways that I made some history here at Colomie and in Salt Lake City was that I was the very first rabbi, I believe, in this city's history to officiate weddings for interfaith couples. Now, I do those in a strictly Jewish ceremony. I don't, unlike my colleague in Park City, well, he actually just left that position, but the rabbi who'd been up in Park City for a good while, he would co-officiate with Christian ministers and stuff like that. I didn't do that. I said it's got to be a strictly Jewish ceremony, but that I would officiate a service between a Jewish couple, a Jewish person, and a non-Jewish person. And the reason that I made that decision, it was a fewfold, was one, statistics were showing that 70% of non-Orthodox Jews were getting married to somebody who was not Jewish. And what I said was basically interfaith marriage is no longer a question. It is a fact in our society. And also, I personally happen to be the product of an interfaith marriage. And, had my parents been told that they were not welcome in a synagogue or made to feel unwelcome in a synagogue, I wouldn't have become a rabbi. And I know that's the story of so many different people. And thirdly, when we look, like the words you say to get married in the Jewish tradition are, I take you as my spouse in accordance with the heritage and religion of Moses and Israel. And yet Moses himself was in an interfaith marriage. And this has been one of the most hotly debated topics really for the past 3,000 plus years in Judaism. People are like, oh, look at this today. We have this crisis of intermarriage. This is a new phenomena. No, it's actually not, because in this week's Torah portion, Behalotecha, what we read is that God punishes Miriam, Moses' sister, and Aaron, Moses' brother. Why? Because they are gossiping and talking trash about how Moses married somebody who's not Israelite. These arguments sometimes that we have are still to this, that we have today, they were having 3,000 years ago. And coincidentally, maybe not coincidentally, I don't know, that this happens in this week's Torah portion, there was also really big news that came out in the American Jewish world that maybe some of you heard about. And that was the largest movement of Judaism in the United States is Reform Judaism. And the official rabbinical school of the Reform movement in the United States, which happens to be where I was ordained, is the Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion. And when I applied to go there, one of the things that I had to agree to was that that if I became a part of a committed relationship, it would have to be with another Jewish person. In order to continue my studies at Hebrew Union College and to be ordained as a rabbi, I could not be in a relationship with a non-Jew. It's kind of funny that we say non-Jews when 99.7% of the world is non-Jews, and we're like, the non-Jews. But anyways, that was something I had to agree to. And I know some people who agreed to that and defied it yet. And then there was, controversy whether there be consequences or not. Now, I'm going to be honest, and I don't want my response to at all influence you, you are welcome to disagree with me. The vast majority, from what I saw, of my contemporaries and colleagues opposed that rule. They said that they found it completely hypocritical. They said if some of our rabbis, such as myself, are the products of intermarriage, if most of our rabbis, like me, will officiate a marriage between somebody who's Jewish and not Jewish. And when we look in our tradition, some of our great heroes like Moses and Esther, and Moses was supposed to be the greatest rabbi of all time, were in intermarriages, then why can't our rabbis become in engaged relationships with people who are not Jewish? And I found myself very much in the minority because despite being the product of an intermarriage and despite officiating at intermarriages, in fact, I mentioned at the beginning of the service that I am going to be officiating at 4 weddings this week. All 4 of those weddings happen to be interfaith couples. I supported the decision of Hebrew Union College, that policy of Hebrew Union College. Why? Because the rabbi is supposed to represent kind of the example. And what we see is that despite 70% of non-Orthodox Jews in America being intermarried, only 18% of those intermarried couples end up raising Jewish children. So statistically speaking, though some of our most amazing members, and there are people like me who come out of interfaith marriages, who become rabbis and such, that's often more of the exception than the rule. And you can make an argument that the ideal is, for the preservation of the Jewish people, is a Jewish person marrying another Jewish person. And if the rabbi is supposed to exemplify, the rabbi's family is supposed to be a model for that, then rabbis shouldn't be allowed to intermarry. But when I talked to the president of the Hebrew Union College, the fairly new president, he's been the president for actually 5 years, so I feel badly I'm calling him the fairly new president, who's the first non-rabbi in the president of the Hebrew Union College, in the history of the Hebrew Union College. He said, I don't support this policy because I know it's going to lead to divorces of somebody who has to choose between their spouse and their dream profession. And also maybe we are denying really talented people from becoming rabbis. And also, let's be honest, the Hebrew Union College is having terrible enrollment numbers right now and is hemorrhaging money. And they need more applicants and good qualified rabbis. And so this week, the Hebrew Union College announced that they are changing that policy and getting rid of that policy and saying that they expect their rabbinical students to have a Jewish home, but that their students could be in relationship and marry folks who are not Jewish. And that has created a lot of debate and mixed feelings with, again, some of my colleagues applauding this decision, some like me not agreeing with it, and others also like me having a lot of mixed feelings too. And so I'm curious if anybody, again, I don't mean putting anybody on the spot. Hi. If anybody has thoughts that they want to share, if this was the right decision or not, and what you think the reason for that is. Yeah, Nancy.
Oh, I think there's more questions to be asked.
Mm.
As in, you say a Jewish home. What does that mean? Do you celebrate at your in-laws Christmas and holidays? I mean, how is that Monday to respect the faith of it, or do you not go to your in-laws anymore? Or
Sure.
and have your children respect their beliefs and talk about it?
Great question, Nancy. For the folks listening at home, how do we define a Jewish home? After all, today, 1 out of every 3 Jewish homes has a Christmas tree in it. and they say, our house is Jewish. Well, why do you have a Christmas tree? 'Cause that doesn't represent the birth of baby Jesus for us. That represents an American fun holiday where a chubby home invader breaks into our house and leaves us presents. What does that have to do with Jesus? It's a fun American holiday, just like Thanksgiving. And so it's not a Christian thing, it's an American thing, is what they would say. But how would you feel then, again, too, if you walked into your rabbi's house and there was a Christmas tree in your rabbi's house? Go ahead.
I was raised in a Christian tradition. In the Bible, it says that a Christian house or Jewish house is one where the head of the household is Jewish.
So where the head of the household is Jewish. And in fact, we see in Jewish law, a lot of people know, well, it's got to be your mother who's Jewish for you to be Jewish. And in 1983, the Reform movement said, you know what? We're going to recognize patrilineal descent. If either of your parents is Jewish and you are raised exclusively Jewish, then you are Jewish, which actually is kind of more similar to the biblical tradition where it was the father. It doesn't say anywhere in the Torah that's got to be your mom. In Torah, actually, we read that you inherit basically your father's tradition. And so the head of the household has to be Jewish. But in today's world, I find it a little weird when my wife and I get a letter addressed to Rabbi and Mrs. Sam Spector. That seems like so not with the times today, because very often, a woman might be the breadwinner in a house, or, my wife and I, we wouldn't say that either one of us is the head of the house. I might say I'm the head of the house, and she'd say that she's the neck. She tells the head where to turn. So, so how do we define head of the household today?
Well, the other side, the end part of that was that
Hi, Paul.
what I was looking up for it was protecting the people who live within the household. So that's the slaves, that's the employees, that's anyone who lives there.
Okay.
It isn't just like a literal house, it's a household. So it can be like a literal hold, which is a town essentially.
Interesting. Okay. What are some other and so what happens too, because I've actually heard of this happening, because oftentimes, let's say in a town like this, the people who become my colleagues, when I was a rabbi in the San Fernando Valley of Los Angeles, I was, not to brag, the president of my neighborhood association of rabbis, which was comprised of 70 rabbis in my neighborhood. I am also, I like to brag, the president and sole member of my neighborhood association of rabbis here in Utah. So most of my, while in LA, I had so many rabbinic colleagues. Here, when I think of my colleagues, they're usually Christian ministers. And I've actually heard of rabbis, because once you become a rabbi, I can't really take that away, rabbis who have found themselves in relationships with Christian ministers because they share so much in common. And so again, if that were the case, how would you feel if your rabbi was in a relationship with a Christian minister? Would that be something exciting and praiseworthy of look how progressive and interfaith our community is? Or would that be something not right? I think I saw some other hands. Let's see. Let's go over here.
Well, as a fellow escapee from LA, being here, we
A recovering Angelino like
are
yourself.
recovering Angelinos, but we're also the product of an interfaith marriage,
Mhm.
and we were married. We are an interfaith.
Still are.
marriage. We still are, and we were married under a chuppah. He's of the ex-Mormon. I mean, he's of the Mormon faith, but has since left. And his family was all 235 of them were there, and we were married with Jewish traditions. And his family has always been incredibly respectful and loving. We broke glasses. We signed a ketubah that now hangs in our house.
Love that.
And growing up, I was always told, you can be gay and you can be Jewish, but you are welcome here. And so my interpretation is that the traditions and the faith need to accept those that want to be part of it. And if you're going to actually live by the pillars of Judaism, you will welcome anyone who wants to be a part of it.
So, question, because the policy has been for a very long time now. We will welcome interfaith relationships, but do you think also a rabbi Should that apply as well to rabbis, or should the rabbis be held to a different standard? Because you could maybe be an outstanding rabbi and still be in an interfaith marriage.
I think that's completely fine. You are supposed to, again, with being an upstanding citizen in the community and communicate the pillars of Judaism.
Sure. And perhaps today, if 70%, see, I'm arguing with myself now, if 70% of our community is intermarrying, if a rabbi were to intermarry and have an exclusively Jewish home, raise Jewish children while being in an interfaith marriage, then maybe that rabbi is being exemplar. Gary, let's take a few more. Gary.
I see it two ways. I understand the example.
Yeah.
Support. Okay? The rabbi, marrying another Jew. I see the example piece of it. I also think that there might be a little bit of history in that, in a lot of congregations, it seems like the rabbi's spouse
Mm-hmm.
plays a very active role
Right.
in the congregation.
Mm-hmm.
So the need for, I understand.
That's a big argument too, yeah.
But looking at it on the practical side, I can see allowing it, allowing the interfaith marriage between a rabbi, particularly in the eyes of a candidate, could be a recruitment move. You don't want to turn away great rabbis because of this.
Exactly. So, because there were folks who were saying we should turn away rabbis who come from interfaith households, and if that was still the policy, I wouldn't be a rabbi today. So maybe, again, we might see one day that our greatest rabbi, much like Moses, comes from an interfaith relationship.
The decision is probably founded in a practical side of it as opposed to
Sure.
a tradition or spiritual.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, and like you said, Gary, there's a whole question about if the rabbi represents an example that should be held to a different level. I'll share that when I moved here, me and my then girlfriend, now wife, when we moved to Utah, we lived together, and I remember one of my devout LDS neighbors saying to me, "Well, you and your wife," and I said, "Oh, actually, we're not married yet." And he just smiled and said, "If it's okay with you, we're going to call her your wife because I feel a little more comfortable with that." And the interesting thing is 99% of our congregants did not care whatsoever that my then girlfriend and I had moved in together when she uprooted her life and moved to Utah for me to take this position. And I remember two people saying that they were very upset about this. And one of them saying to me, "How are you going to explain this to the religious school children?" And I said, I don't think it's going to come up in conversation. They were upset because if it were their accountant living with his girlfriend, that wouldn't be a problem. But the rabbi is supposed to be an example. Go ahead, but I didn't feel I was really violating any Jewish values by doing that with.
You're a good example that it was perfectly fine.
Exactly. And other people said no. Let's take two more comments. I saw one back here and one over here, and then we're going to continue.
I would like to make the argument that it would be extremely hypocritical to say that because the rabbi is supposed to be a example for the community, then they shouldn't be in an interfaith relationship, because that is inherently saying that an interfaith relationship is lesser.
Mm.
It is not an example of a good Jewish relationship, and I do not think that aligns with Jewish values. I also would like to make a point in the discussion of what a Jewish household is. You said, I think you said your name was Nancy, something along the lines of like, well, then should they cut off the in-laws? Like, what about that? Well, what about
Not cut off the in-laws, but celebrate Christmas with the in-laws.
What about
Yeah.
a family, a Jewish household in which one of the people, the parents, converted?
Mm.
Family still wants them to be
Yeah.
involved in Christmas, and they feel like they should have their kids thin line to walk on what makes a Jewish household, because there are so many other examples beyond
Sure.
just interfaith
So-
relationships where that is applicable.
So part of the question, going back to Nancy's point too, is raising that, as Nancy said, there's more questions than there is answers. Like, how do we define a Jewish household? Does that mean also the rabbi should be expected to keep strict kosher in the household or whatever? Because is that what makes a Jewish household or not? Should we be checking that there's a mezuzah on every door and stuff? Like, there's so many different arguments of what makes a Jewish household. And one of the things you just said is exactly one of the points I was hearing over and over again, is if we say, well, the rabbi should not be in such a marriage because the rabbi is supposed to be the example, then are we telling our congregants who are in interfaith marriages that their marriage is not exemplary when maybe they're very loving partners and in a committed and have a home of wonderful Jewish values, when there might be a couple where both people are Jewish and not living lives of Jewish values? So that is one, are we telling our congregants, if we say, well, this is the example, and they don't match that example, that their relationship is lesser than and is not moral or something like that? That's one of the arguments that has been made over and over again. Let's take one last comment,
So,
because I could talk about this all night.
so this is coming from someone raised Southern Baptist. I actually am going to take a dissenting opinion, only because from a social sciences standpoint, when you look at the efficacy of religion, the barrier of entry and the ability to create a solid nucleus, there's an argument for the religion becomes stronger when there is that. And again, I'm
Sure.
raised Jewish, and also I think there is an argument also to be made from like a geopolitics standpoint of it is advantageous to have more people that are Jewish, because it can protect and create more community. But I would say, I think there should be respect for, the sanctity that is the tradition. That is actually part of what drew me to it. So I can see the arguments across the board.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important that even if we dissent with the opinion, we should also find space in our heart to respect the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just mine.
Thank you. All right. I appreciate y'all being vulnerable, sharing your thoughts, because like I said, I hope you even hear me arguing with myself on both sides here. There are so many great points on both sides. But one of the things, like I said, is I think what we read in our Torah portion this week, because a lot of people could point to this week's Torah portion and say, look, if God got so angry at Miriam and Aaron for disrespecting Moses for being in an interfaith marriage, then of course there's not a problem with interfaith marriage in the eyes of God. Aren't we all, after all, children of God? And there's a midrash that says that the very first person, Adam, was made with all the colors of the soil of the world, so that, because we never talked about what was Adam's ethnicity. And the reason why, according to Midrash, is so that no person could say, my people are better than yours, for we were created first. And at the same time, though, we can read many other parts of the Torah that speak out against intermarriage. Like the whole Torah and the Tanakh in general are arguing back and forth about intermarriage. Is it good? Is it bad? And I could show you 10 texts on both sides of it. But what you could say in this week's Torah portion is a Chilul Hashem, a desecration of the name of God, isn't whether or not Moses was right or wrong by being in an intermarriage, but rather the fact was that he was in an interfaith marriage. Not should he have been, should he have not have been, he was. And yet Miriam and Aaron chose to disrespect him and to disrespect his wife. And that certainly is not okay. And so, at the end of the day, whether we agree or disagree with the policy change that Hebrew Union College made this week, the thing is that, at least for now, Hebrew Union College has said the debate's over. This is now the policy change going forward. And so our job is that when we meet a rabbi who might be in an interfaith marriage going forward, by the movement standards, they are not doing anything wrong, whether we agree with it or not. And so whether we agree or not with their personal decision is never an excuse for us to show disrespect to that person and the person who loves them and sees holiness in them as a human being, and is, I can tell you firsthand, how much support, how much a rabbi depends on his or her, their spouse, for support and love and care in this highly emotional work. So we have to treat that spouse with love for loving our rabbi. Shabbat Shalom. Thanks for helping me tonight and contributing some wonderful thoughts. Let me make a few announcements before we conclude our service. So join us tomorrow morning at 9:30 in the sanctuary to celebrate Solomon Foster becoming a bar mitzvah. Membership renewal statements have been mailed. Please complete your member payment and agreement and submit a 25% payment to receive your high holiday tickets. And I realized, by the way, that we had until Wednesday an early bird thing for people signing up for membership, that if you registered by this past Wednesday, the 19th, you'd get a 5% discount as an early bird special. And then there was somebody who had computer problems and was going camping over the next few days and said to me, I didn't get it in, but I can get it to you by Monday. And I said, okay, get it to me by Monday and I'll give you that 5% off still, because I feel bad punishing you. Then I thought about it and I was like, well, if I'm providing that exception for one person, maybe I should do it for others. So if you are interested in joining our really exciting community, which has grown 35% in the last 6 years, from 280 families to now about 410 over the last 6 years, of where we're growing in every single age demographic. I don't know any other synagogue that 30% of their membership is under the age of 40. But if you are interested in joining our Kolami family, please come talk to me and let's sign you up before Monday, and I'll make sure you get that 5% discount, because I have a little bit of say when it comes to those things around here. And and by the way, as I was telling folks earlier, one of the things I'm really proud of with this synagogue is that we have never in my time here turned away somebody due to inability to pay. So if you're like, I can't afford synagogue membership, yes, you can. We will find a way to make it work for you, so that, because it's not acceptable to me or to this community that somebody in this community does not have a Jewish home because they feel they can't afford it. So we will work with you. Come talk to me, okay? So this Sunday at 9:15 a.m., join our Kolami Outdoors group for a hike on the Willow Lake Trail in Big Cottonwood Canyon. Then at 4 p.m., join our new Kolami Queer Jewish Book Club on Zoom. The first book we will discuss is Becoming Eve, My Journey from Ultra-Orthodox Rabbi to Transgender Woman by Abby Stein. Wonder what they all thought about interfaith rabbi marriage anyways. So on Tuesday the 25th at 6:30 p.m., join me and Laura Green for an info session about our Jewish Heritage Tour to Poland, Slovakia, and Budapest, Hungary in May of 2025. We have done some fantastic trips over the last 12 months to Israel and to the south, to Atlanta and Alabama, to learn about the Jewish role in the civil rights movement. I cannot wait for this trip to Eastern Europe in May of next year. Come talk to me about that. Next weekend, Also, join us as we celebrate Jude Plotkin being called to the Torah as a bar mitzvah. And registration for our summer camping trip, our summer camping Shabbaton, is now open. Join us for Shabbat under the stars at Strawberry Reservoir, camping, community, and fun for all ages. And of course, a heck of a lot of s'mores. This event's going to sell out. This event's going to sell out for sure, so please register today. Our Friday night summer Shabbatot begin Friday, July 5th at my house and my wife Jill Spector's house, and starting July 5th through the end of August. Join us each Friday night for Shabbat services in congregants' backyards and other special locations. Make sure to RSVP each week for the address. And next week, actually, with our incoming cantor, we are going to be in Esther's Garden, which is always really fun and nice. And so thank you for being here. And thank you as well. Shout out to Officer Wyan from the Salt Lake City Police Department for being here to keep us safe this evening. And so with that, we are going to move into the concluding part of our service with the Aleinu. We are on the bottom of page 586. I will invite you to please rise. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, la'tek yedula li'otzeh reshit, shelo asanu ki goei haratzot, V'lo samanu kamishpachot adama, shelo sam helkenu kahem, v'gor aleinu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, u'mishtachavim u'modim, lifnei melech Malchei Hamlachim Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim V'Yosed Haaretz U'Moshav Yikaro B'Shamayim Ima'al U'Shchinatu Zo Begovhei Meromim Hu Eloheinu Einod Emem Malkeinu Efezulato Kakatuv betorato vidatayom v'hashivota elevavecha ki Adonai hu ha'Elohim b'shamayim imal ve'al ha'aretz mitacha einod Kakatuv b'toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echai u'shemo U'shemo echad. You may be seated. This time we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, and those who have died in this season years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own as we remember them. If you hear the name of a loved one, you're invited to rise upon hearing their name. In the period of Shloshim, the 30-day period of mourning, today marks the beginning of Shloshim for our congregant, Julia Louise Dolowitz Reagan, who was laid to rest today. She is the wife of our congregant, Bill Reagan, mother of our congregant, Frances Kopinga, and sister of our congregant, Sandy Dolowitz. And we also, of course, think of all of those over the last 30 days who have lost their lives in defense of the state of Israel or as a result of terror. And this week, we observe the following Yortzites anniversary of the passing of these loved ones: Lois Altman, John Anders, Shmuel Bentov, Irving Bernstein, Ida Bernstein, Robert Coney, Dr. David Barry Davies, Mary Davis, Miriam Davis, Laurel Brown Dye, Charlene Engelberg, Jerome Filer, Robert Fulkerson, Ben Gerlich, Sarah Gus, Herta Hess, Lillian Land, Glenn Langer, Emma Levin, excuse me, I'm sorry, allergies, Emma Levin, Maury Levine, Ramon Gutierrez Messina, Victor Oswald, Miriam Mitzi Perlman, Diane Rolfs, Hans Rosenberg, Philip Safran, Stanley G. Seckler, Max Siegel, Evelyn Smith, Joseph Sonnenreich, Patricia Strayanik, Isidore Sussman, Grazina Sizigil, Goldie Topper, Silma Wilson, Sylvia Lerner-Woolman, and Werner Zinnick. And if you have a name to add when I look in your direction, you're welcome to share with our community. And if you are watching on our live stream, I'll invite you to share a name as well. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you're in mourning or it's your tradition to do so, you are invited to rise. We're on page 598. Yit gadal v'yikadash shemei rabah, be'alma divrach yirteh v'yemlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dehol beit Yisrael, ba'gala uvisman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabah mevarach le'olam omei omaya, yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudisha parihu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nehemata, dam iram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Say shalom b'mromav, huya say shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who are mourning comfort the bereaved among us. Again, we say amen. Since October 7th, we have been concluding with Israel's national anthem throughout this war. And so if you wish to do so, you are invited to rise in body or spirit for Hatikva, which you can find on the bottom of one of our pages, on the bottom of 678. Kol balevav penima, nefesh Yehudi homia, ufrate mizra kadima, ayin letzion sophia. Od lo avda tikvatenu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liatam chofshi be'artzenu, eretz Sion v'Yerushalayim, liatam chofshi be'artzenu, eretz Sion Yerushalayim. We'll remain standing for Kiddush. Vayir vayvoke yom hashishi v'hu hashamayim v'haaretz v'osavam Elohim yom hashvi lakto asher asa vayishbo b'yom hashvi mikol malakto asher asa v'yvarech Elohim yom hashvi v'kadesh oto ki vo shava mikol malakto asher bra Elohim lasot savrei. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kisham mitzotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ava uvratzon hini lanu zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila l'mikra'ei kodesh zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'harta ve'otanu kidashta mikol ha'amim ve'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inhaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen l'chaim. And we have here, made by my good buddy Moshe, who's one of our congregants here, the best tasting challah, which he sells, by the way. Those interested in the state of Utah, I'd say even west of the Mississippi. And so, if you will join me, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lehem min haaretz te'avon b'te'avon. Shabbat shalom. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Please have some challah.